Port friends, I have to be honest, I'm not really ready to give Enshrouded a full review. We have over 20 hours in the game, and while that's going to close in on 40 hours by the end of the week, I don't want to spend any longer bringing you our thoughts on the early access version of the game, because if I waited until we'd seen the whole thing, well, this video wouldn't come out for another 2 to 3 months. Hi, my name's Lil, and this is our early access review of Enshrouded. I have to add a little context as to why we say if we waited to put out this review, it wouldn't come anytime soon. And that's because after 20 hours, Ducky and I haven't even touched 1/10 of the map. And even though we've unlocked all the NPCs, we're still chasing down their lost items and unlocking recipe after recipe and discovering ancient magics, not to mention beautifying our little slice of heaven to a deeper extent. I'm wholeheartedly sucked in, and while I say this lightly for now, it's easily one of my best survival craft experiences to date. Let me tell you why. I grew up watching and playing the Elder Scrolls series and story-driven RPGs that had enough exploration aspects that created a love for all things medieval and fantasy. If I can pick up a sword to slash at my enemies, then tumble roll out of the way, quick draw my bow, and attack from a distance, well, it's an ideal experience. The fluidity of fast-paced yet precise styles of combat, blended with the massive open world that Enshrouded is offering us, has my heart on literal cloud 9. If that was all it offered, the game's appeal might have started to dwindle after hitting hour 20, but when I say it has one of the most fun styles of building a game has ever offered, with enough building material variant to allow for some epic combinations, well, I'm not teasing when I say I could easily spend an entire afternoon handcrafting a beautiful medieval town, complete with rooftop gardens, flower pots, houses with cozy fireplaces, and private bathrooms, and really so much more than I can convey in this video. It appeals to my decorative side, and so often in survival craft games, I'm left with half-baked options for minimal house customization. But despite the early access title Enshrouded harbors, it's still offering me more options than most finalized games. So just know that its 1.0 is that great white shark in the water, ready to topple down other fan favorites in the future. That being said, there's one other thing that it has in its favor, and it's the glaring fact that we can share the experience with 15 of our friends. And even though my friend group is nowhere near that size, the idea is pretty amazing when considered. I can see purchasing an Enshrouded server for the Pillow Fort and its friends to enjoy to be a real possibility in the future. The sheer size of the map and the fact that you can take your characters in between servers and keep your skills and inventory only adds to my appreciation for the game. I know I'm not alone when I say I hate having to start multiple characters to play the same game with friends. And while I can appreciate being locked to the same quests or world, it's just too inconvenient to build up one character only to have to start over and lose all your progress with each new group that wants to start a server together. Now, we can just server hop and enjoy helping anyone in their own worlds, or they can come to ours and realize just how much time we've sunk into the game. Another feature I want to bring into the fray is the talent tree. With every piece of dirt you pick up, every goat you bring home for dinner, or enemy you chop to pieces, you'll gain XP. Once you've earned enough to acquire a new level, you'll get to choose from a decent-sized tree and figure out whether you're going to be standing back and healing your friends while throwing out some support arrows, or using your face as bait for the beating. The range of different classes and multi-classing options is impressive. Think Skyrim and how you aren't hard-locked into any one thing, but rather, you can choose to multi-spec and become a hybrid warrior. My only complaint would be that it might be beneficial to split the classes into an XP system where, if per se you're an archer and going down that track, that every time you use your bow, you gain a separate set of archer XP. And as that skill grows, you unlock a subset of talents that could further enhance your combat experience. This could help further diversify the classes so that even if you are max level and spec'd into everything possible, your weapon proficiency would still diversify you from your friend that decided to be a wand-waving mage, and for every cool arrow attack you have, they have an equally epic wand explosion to share and brag about. You might think that's all I can talk about in terms of features, but it's not. The one unique thing about Enshrouded, in comparison to other titles in the survival craft system, is although the building is extensive and impressive, you can only build wherever you have a sacred flame placed down. If you destroy that flame, so too will your buildings topple with its exhaustion, and you'll have to start over someplace new. That might deter you when you hear it, but rest assured, as you upgrade your flame, your building plot doubles, then triples, and so on. As you enhance the flame, you can place more of them down in the world and allow for quick teleportation between the different points. You'll be able to build in each of them, but Ducky and I found it far more efficient to make one spot our base of operations and move the other flames around the world to wherever we were exploring at the time. This made transporting our loot to and from our adventures all the easier. It appealed to my hoarding side, allowing me to not stress too heavily about taking too much stuff, but also just made jumping around the world and exploring different parts that much better. I didn't feel like I was playing a walking simulator back and forth, but if I wanted the ability to teleport around the world, I had to at least strap on my boots and go discover that place first, then have the easeability of returning whenever we wanted. Aside from our flames, there are different points of interest around the map that will allow you to teleport to them, so just know that this isn't the only system of transporting around. But it is what makes it a lot more bearable, as some of the world points are just too far away to be convenient. With the map and skill tree out of the way, let's talk about the armor and upgrades. We talked about rescuing the 5 NPCs in the game, those being the alchemist, blacksmith, hunter, farmer, and woodworker. Each offers their own unique set of skills, and I feel like your base assumptions related to their names should help describe each of them. But you can count on the blacksmith preparing your heavy armors, the hunter catering to your rogues and rangers, the alchemist being the best friend to any casters or healers, woodworkers being your decorative BFF, and the farmer your one-way ticket to rooftop gardens. As we stated earlier, each will have you chasing down items that will further their craft and unlock new recipes, and it was a system I deeply enjoyed. It added a sense of life and purpose to crafting our own little village and giving them their own private homes. In terms of a solo experience, it adds that bit of companionship that survival craft games often lack, and are the large reason I can't handle playing them by myself. But I would absolutely tackle Enshrouded solo, despite the fact that Dougie and I haven't stopped playing together whenever we can. A few other minor things I'll toss in this review is the fact that you can destroy pretty much everything in the world. See a mountain in your way? Dig straight through it. Is there a giant monument you hate to look at? It's gonna take you a year, but you can topple it to pieces. Your creative freedom might be locked to the pillars of flame, but your destructive freedom is as expansive as the map. So you aren't forced to conform to the world's confines, and you can quite literally go where you please. One thing that will put a damper on your world exploration, though, is the enshrouded areas. Yes, the game has its name for a reason, and you'll quickly find out that these areas offer you a limited lifeline. And should you decide to push the boundaries of that timer, you'll quickly be taking a dirt nap, in need of rescuing, or worse, respawning. Careful when doing that though, as you will lose part of your inventory. My personal favorite mechanic: if you've died in an inopportune area, say the bottom of a cliff you weren't meant to fall from, your inventory pile will be where you last made contact with the earth before dying. So you won't have to commit suicide again to rescue your inventory. It'll be neatly waiting for you at the top of the hill. Now, sometimes it's a little buggy with placement, but nothing our pickaxe couldn't help us remedy, that's for sure. Honestly, I could spend more time talking about the crafting, mentioning how it's extremely fluid and easy to manipulate the world around you with just a few key clicks, or about how much fun I had taking on things 6 levels over us and succeeding because with clever kiting and attack skills, you can do so. And even how much I loved all the little side objectives and books to read all over the map. But honestly, I want to leave some sense of surprise for you to enjoy should you choose to pick up and play this one. We say it genuinely when we say we're in love with it, and it will consume many more hours of our time in the near future. We wanted to get our thoughts on early access out to you though, as it's too good of a game to leave unfinished. It wears a $30 price tag, and I mean it when I say I'd happily pay double for this game. If we'd paid $60 each and bought 2 copies to enjoy together, I'd be extremely pleased with our purchase, and it's honestly one of the only co-op games that I could say that about recently, at least for that price range. I understand people's hesitancy towards early access games, but this one is far more polished than one might expect, and offers easily hundreds of hours of map exploring, questing, and leveling, all with friends. We can and will be honest enough to say there are a few things we'd like to see added, such as physical water, and currently the quests are shared between everyone on the realm, so having separate quest progress would be fantastic. But in a lot of ways, we appreciate it being shared, since sometimes it's just so hard to keep up with that one friend that wanders off on their own, only to come back 10 levels higher with half the game completed, and now you have to go desperately catch up. But on the flip side, it can lead to you losing out on the quests yourself, so having at least the choice between the 2 modes would be great. Other than that, we've honestly had a bug-free experience and have felt the game to be very well balanced. We read a few comments about the game feeling too easy, but if you're like us and strayed into higher level zones way before you should have, only to treat the Enshrouded Zone boss like a raid in World of Warcraft, putting your kiting and shooting skills to the test, then you'll know there's definitely still challenge to the game. You just need to seek it out. Obviously, we don't rate EA titles, but take your feedback for what you will, and feel free to share your own thoughts on the game, or ask any questions in the comments. We love answering them, so just know it's never a bother. That's going to be it for this review, but we need to give an extra special thank you to the Enshrouded team for allowing us to cover this one. You'll absolutely see more content from us on this in the future, and likely another stream in the coming weeks. So if you missed our first one, then feel free to tune in for that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go to constantly learn about new games. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.